Hey there, everybody. My name is Jonathan James with Hope Charities, and it is great to see you today. We are getting ready for one of my favorite events called the Prophy Conference, where we get a chance to talk a little bit about what it's like to live with a bleeding disorder and have to stay motivated to be in on a schedule and a routine for preventative treatment. Those of you who've been doing this for a long time know that it's called prophylaxis in long form, but we like to shorten it up for fun and call it Prophy. And it's really difficult to do anything consistently over a long period of time. When you think about kids and teens and life and interruptions and vacations and school projects, there's a plethora of things that are always fighting for our attention. And unfortunately, those things sometimes can get in the way of treatment, which can cause serious long term problems if you're not careful. And living with a bleeding disorder, there is a lot competing for your challenge of your time, including learning how to infuse, self infuse, or just staying on a treatment regimen. So that's what we're going to be talking about at our Prophy Conference coming up right around the corner on May 20th and 21st. And I want you to join me and a whole bunch of our friends to a live opportunity to meet some folks who've been living with this and learn from them and their stories, and also learn from some incredible experts about how they manage their bleeding disorder. Today, I've invited a friend of mine to join me to talk a little bit about her experience with living with a bleeding disorder and what it's been like to try to stay on track. Shannon Phelps. Shannon,
Hi.
it's great to see you today. Thanks so much for joining me for the Prevent podcast.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I know that living with a bleeding disorder is got opportunities for tons of interruptions. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's prom or it's, just trying to have fun with your friends or getting married or having a funeral. All of the big events in life, a lot of times compete for our attention in a lot of different ways. And you've lived that every single day. So love to learn a little bit more about your story for maybe people who haven't met you yet. If you could tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you're affected.
Yeah, so I am in Indiana currently. I was born and raised in Virginia. I moved here a couple years ago. And I have type 3 von Willebrand's disease. I was diagnosed at 6 months old, and it's been a
Wow.
roller coaster, but it's been a journey and a fun journey, that's for sure. But
Yeah, it's kind of funny when we meet folks like you and me in the wild, as I like to say. It's kind of funny because you're like, oh, you have a bleeding disorder. Oh, wow, that's great. Well, I mean, it's not great, but it's
it's not
kind of
great,
like
but
we
there's
know each
perks
other.
to it, right?
That's right. I always say the best thing about being diagnosed with a bleeding disorder is the community that comes along with it. And
Yes.
I know that there's just a lot of amazing people that we've gotten to know through the years just by having a diagnosis and sort of, being a part of a club that you didn't want to be a part of, but
Yeah.
you have learned how to benefit from the relationships nonetheless. So let's talk a little bit about, your story because, you've got a few things working against you just inherently. One is being a female with a bleeding disorder is a
Yeah.
lot of times kind of ignored or bypassed. Secondarily, you live with von Willebrand's disease, and some people live with that diagnosis without prophylaxis treatment. So, being diagnosed at 6 months old must admit that you were really severe, right?
Yeah, so I'm severe. I think I'm less than 10%. My factor eight is only
Wow.
2%. I was covered in bruises when they diagnosed me originally. And obviously, they thought it was an abuse case at first and,
Mm,
called CPS and everything. But there was a nurse there. She knew pretty quickly what she thought it was. And I was diagnosed pretty quickly on. So,
wow. Wow, what a blessing that you were able to be diagnosed so early. And when you got diagnosed, did they put you on a preventative treatment regimen right
so I
away?
was
Or?
just on need or as needed until
Mhm.
my first surgery on my ankle, and that was
Oh,
in high school. So they didn't put me on
wow.
prevented or like prophy treatment until I was already a sophomore in high school. So the damage was already
Yeah.
done, but
Yeah. And you had to have that surgery because of
because of the
damage,
joint
right?
bleeds, yep.
Yes. Wow. And so when you came out of that surgery or started to realize, is that when they decided to put you on a preventative treatment regimen?
Yeah, that's when they were like, "Oh, we think you need more than just treating for your bleeds. We need to prevent these bleeds from coming." And so they put me on prophy right after that.
And was there ever a time that you got off of Prophy and realized you really needed to be on Prophy?
Yeah, so when I moved to Indiana, actually, I moved here. with COVID and everything going on. And so I needed a new hematologist. I kind of got off track. And so went as needed for a little bit of time until my appointment. And then they took me off of Prophy at that point because I wasn't prophying my doses.
Oh my gosh.
And so they're like, well, you haven't needed it. So let's see what is going on now. And very quickly, a year later, I was put right back on Prophy. I mean, it was very obvious that I
Yeah.
needed it, fortunately. And I have a really good doctor. And so
Yeah.
it
Was
was
that a
not
fight? Was it a battle to get back on
It
Prophy with
was, yeah.
insurance or yeah.
I wouldn't say, well, insurance was an absolute fight.
Yeah.
With the doctor, I brought in all my documentation with me, and I was like, all my bruises, all my bleed logs, my period logs, everything.
Mhm.
And they were like, yes, you need to go back on Prophy. Insurance denied it 4 times before they approved, or 3 times, I'm sorry. And
Wow.
they finally, on the fourth like time, the final straw, or whatever you like to call it, they approved it. So I'm
Wow.
very fortunate. But
And was your doctor a big help in trying to explain to them the need, or how
yeah,
did
so
you
my doctor
advocate for that?
fought the entire time,
Mm.
and every single denial he said, we need to fight for this. This patient needs this. And every single one, they were like, no, until the last one. And the very last one it was like 5 different doctors, and 3 doctors said yes, and 2 doctors said no. So I won or 3 doctors, 2 said yes, one said no, or however the case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we kind of joke sometimes behind the scenes about how those medical review boards are not always specialists, right? And I always say, the two dentists and the podiatrist that made the decision that you don't have a bleeding disorder really don't know anything about
Really
a
don't.
bleeding disorder.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I've had a few doctors correct me over that joke lovingly, that no, it's more than that. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's tough. I mean, you're really up against a wall because here you are needing this treatment, and it is a
Yeah.
high cost therapy. But at the same time, it is the difference between you being in hospitalized care with having to have multiple surgeries and so genuinely a real need and could be life threatening if you don't have care and you're in a
Yeah.
car accident or some kind of an emergency for sure. um, Tell me a little bit about your own self infusion journey and what that was like. Did you
Yeah.
learn how to
So
treat early on? And
I did. I learned at camp, with all my friends. We all learned together, and so I started there. And then from camp, I pretty much have always been like, "No, I got it. I'll do it." But I'm also the kind of person who likes to teach people how to infuse too. So I'm like, "Here, you
yeah,
can use my veins. Go for it." But when it
that's
comes to my
awesome.
own factor, I'm like, "I'll do it. That's okay." But yeah, so I've been infusing since, I think I was 12 or 13 at that point.
Wow, that's incredible.
I have really
That's
good veins.
incredible.
I'm very fortunate, I must say.
Now tell me, are you like a really super disciplined person that you just like are always on schedule? Or are you the kind of
I
person
try
that,
to be.
yeah, so that's good. That's a
Yeah.
help. You're not
Yeah.
like a
So
thick headed guy, males that just like don't, we want to pretend like we don't have it sometimes. So it,
I
interrupts.
feel like everyone does get off track when it
Yeah.
comes to infusing. Your life gets in the way of some sort, or the whole day has already gone by and you didn't even realize it was a prophy day.
Right.
And so I feel like what I've done to try to navigate and make sure I'm getting my prophies is like I have my alarms set on my phones.
That's
Um,
great.
and then I have a whole friend group of friends that factor too. So if some of us have to factor that day, we all just get on FaceTime and we'll factor together. It kind of makes it go by a little
Oh,
quicker and
that's
easier.
fun. That's a
But yeah.
great idea. Yeah. My daughters, I feel so old now, because they're like, yeah, they just get on like these, FaceTime calls and they just sit on the phone like all day. I'm like, well, how do you even have time to do I like it? I don't, but it's neat because however you can leverage technology or whatever just to be able to stay connected to other people, which brings up a kind of a good point about community. I know that there's been just such a huge, some of my best friends obviously have come from, people that are living with bleeding disorders. And we are so fortunate that we have such a strong sense of community in this space. And there's a lot of other diseases that don't have that.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about what that's meant to you and how has that been a support to you?
I feel like the community has always been there when you needed it the most, no matter what.
Mm,
But it's
mhm.
also there in a time of fun and a time of, they're all everyone is always there for you. It's such a welcoming and loving community to be a part of, in all honesty.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. The sense of family, like you can always walk into a room and someone is going to be say hi to you no matter what.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be there with open arms to give you a hug or listen to what's going on in your life.
That's so true.
Everyone is very welcoming in the
That's
community.
so
And
true.
I feel like that helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of folks that are not involved, and I always encourage people, if you're not involved, like, these online meetings are a great opportunity to just come check it out and see what it's like to be involved in the community. And I know that there's a lot of great people that gather in these moments to be able to just connect to people that are even
Yeah.
states away. Maybe you don't have time, or you're not able to get out of your home easily or something like that. But I know you've been to some of these online meetings as
Yeah.
well with us. Just, is there any encouragement or advice you'd give to anybody who's thinking about registering or coming?
Yeah, I think that people should definitely reach out to each other and build those bonds and connections. People who've never been to these events before,
Hmm.
they don't understand what the sense of community really is. And there's someone in, the United States more than likely going through the exact same thing that someone else is going through. And so for those people to be able to connect and kind of talk through what they've both done, I feel like
Hmm.
is a very big success for our community. And I think that's what everyone should do is try to reach out and get more education on their own.
That's
Um,
so true. That's so true. We have a really great network of chapters and a lot of great, obviously, HTCs and other
mhm.
places to get resources. But one of the things that I find is sometimes that people don't have, they live maybe 3, 4, 5 hours away from where maybe a local event is going on. And this is a great opportunity when it's online like this for
Yeah,
people to join us. And so, I think it's a great way to connect, at least in a soft way. And maybe even while you're working, you're doing other things. We've had
yeah.
people, waiting in the pickup line with their kids at school or whatever it is, and just jump on a session. We have a lot of great sessions going on. And I think you'll be there as well. And there's some breakouts going on where you're going to be able to be there. So if you want to meet Shannon, just come on over
Yeah,
and be a part of this event. But Shannon, it's really great to see you as always, and want to say a big thank you for you joining me today to talk about your journey, but also for Drug Co sponsoring this event as well. I know you're working over there and
yeah,
doing a great job and helping people every day. And so, if there's really anyone that wants to reach out, I encourage you to reach out to Shannon, because she's
of
doing a great
course.
job and she'll be at this event. So thanks so
I
much, Shannon.
will,
It's great to
of course.
see you.
Thank you so much for inviting me in and letting me talk.
Awesome. Anytime. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Of course, thank you.
Well, there is so many people out there. Shannon put it so gracefully that this community is always standing with open arms, ready to encourage and provide inspiration. This is a no judgment zone. And so, if you are really wondering about where to get connected, how to get connected, maybe you've been recently diagnosed, your child's been recently diagnosed, and you don't know what to do next. This is a great opportunity for you to jump in. Maybe you're an old pro and you feel like, there's really nothing else for me to learn. I promise you, at my age, I still need encouragement on how to stay consistent. So I'm really excited about this event. You can come join us again on May 20th and 21st. And also, we're going to be having a lot of fun while we're doing it. We're giving away prizes and raffles. You have to be present and participate to win, but you can register at that little QR code up there in the corner and in the link in the description. And you'll be able to come to this free event and be able to learn more about this great community, but also get plugged into some amazing resources. We have some incredible sessions prepared for you to talk a little bit about how to be consistent, how to get over maybe even shame and doubt when you have missed so much. And maybe you've got some joint damage. Maybe there's some other things going on. Maybe you've had some issues with venous access. There's all types of resources and sessions. We'll be talking about many different ways to stay consistent. So thank you so much for joining me for this pre-event podcast and learning a little bit more about what we're talking about here regularly. I would love to see you at this event. So make sure that you go over there and register right now. We would love to see you very, very soon. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.